In this video, we'll show you how to get your sticks in the right position. So there's no way to just get these onto your piece and get them on there accurately if you don't have guides or some sort of a reference point. So the easiest way to do this is to create a grid line of guides. And you have this tape measure tool down here. It's the top one and on the third one up. Okay, and it can create guidelines. Now, the way guidelines work is from a point. Now, it will only, since no guidelines are there or reference points, it will reference off of some point on a component or on these solid lines. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and reference off of a solid line. Okay, and draw out 10 inches. So I just click at a different point and type in 10 and do the same thing off the red axis and type in 10. Okay, so it now created two reference lines at 10 by 10. Okay, so I can make more lines, okay, by simply starting at this line here outside the line, okay, and dragging it over. And you choose how many grid lines or what position you need it to be in. Okay, you may need multiple grids based on whatever you're doing, or you can just put a standard grid line in. I'm just going to put a standard 1-inch grid line all the way around. So I'm just going to pull it out to any dimension, type in 1 inch, press enter. It made it 1 inch. Now, I don't have to keep doing that. It will just understand the 1 inch from the prior time you did it, okay, and pretty much snap to that inch every single time. Okay, so the first time you put in a dimension, it will kind of remember what you did before and it will snap to that. Okay, but just be careful. Sometimes if you're a little too quick, okay, you gotta sometimes type it in. Okay, good. So we have 1 inch divided the entire way. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this line here. Come down an inch, come down an inch. Okay, it's usually good practice to wait until that little 1 inch dimension pops up, then you know you're there. Okay, 1 inch. An inch and 1 inch. Okay, so that's how you create a grid line. Now, SketchUp will understand points on grids and it will understand corners of lines and midpoints of lines. So whenever I'm moving something, so if I'm selecting this particular stick and I want to move it, and now I select the move tool, okay, it will automatically grab this corner point, this endpoint you see, or it can reference the midpoint. And it says, and it tells you where it's grabbing from. It says midpoint in stick. Okay, so I'm grabbing from the midpoint in stick, and now I'm moving it from that midpoint in stick to wherever I want to move it, right? In this case, I want to put it right here at this corner. So I want to grab this corner, so this endpoint, and then I want to move it to this intersection. And when I have that thing there, I can click and I know that I have that point locked in. Okay, now if I want to, you can lock these components so that they don't move. And you can do that by right-clicking and dropping down here and pressing lock. So now that stick is locked. It turns red when I do it. I can no longer move it around. Okay, as you see, it won't even let me select it. Okay, I can't move it. Okay, so I have it there. It's locked in place. Okay, so that's good practice to always lock your pieces when you're moving them into a position. Okay, now let's say I want to put this stick, okay, on this line, but it needs to be in the center of this line. Okay, so I don't want to grab it by the corner, I want to grab it by the midpoint. Okay, so again, I select the stick itself, get the move tool, okay, and I'm going to zoom in so I make sure I grab the midpoint, and it should highlight midpoint in stick is what I'm grabbing. Okay, so now I have it by the midpoint. Okay, and I then can go over here to the intersection, click and let go. It is now on that intersection of those two grid lines. Okay, and again, right click, I can lock that in place. Okay, so I have those two sticks in the position I want. All right, let's assume I want to move these two as well. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, you may need to zoom in to find what you're looking for when you're grabbing something. Okay, I move that there. I'm gonna lock it in place. And now I'm going to take this one, move it, and I'm gonna move it to that line. Go to the intersection, and again, I'm gonna lock that one in place. Okay, so all of these are locked in place and they light up in red. Okay, I believe I did not lock this one. Okay, so we're gonna lock that one. So when you lock something, you can't move it, okay, and you can't select it. So, but you can, okay, if I hold the control button down, okay, take all of these together and I can unlock them all at once, okay, and I can make these all into a group, okay. So now all of these will move together as one component. And I'll show you why that might be important, okay. Because in our next step, I'm going to move all of these onto our floor.